to join in our second virtual meetup for the Cyber Island Northwest chapter. We launched this chapter on the 5th of November, and at that point we asked for some feedback from you guys as to what you want to see in these chapter meetings going forward. And one of the reoccurring themes that came up in the last meetup was all around careers in cyber. What does a career in cyber look like? What options do we have here in our region? What training options do we have? So that's why we've titled this event around careers in cyber. So today we're going to hear from 3 different speakers that come from a wide range of industries in Cyber Island, and we're also going to have a panel discussion with some representatives from academia and also some training providers around options that exist for us here in the Northwest and education that we have here in our region. At that point, we'll have an open Q&A discussion. So if you have a question for either the panelists or the speakers, please pop them into the chat functionality that we have available, and we will answer the questions at that point. Okay, so just before I hand over to the speakers, I just wanted to give you a bit of feedback as to our last event, our launch event. So as I said, we launched the event or this chapter on the 5th of November, and we had over 100 people sign up to attend the event, and on the day we had over 90 people attend. So that's a huge amount of people, and it just shows you how vibrant this community is here in our region. So, it's great to see that amount of people signing up, great to see that amount of people attending these events, and it also gives us an opportunity to collaborate with each other in this arena. So we also had a survey at that point where we were looking for topics of interest, and I'll talk about that in the next slide, some areas that were of interest to you guys to see in the remaining chapter meetups that we have in the new year. We also asked what was the preferred time, and the morning time seems to suit the majority. So therefore we've gone for a time today at 11. So it's the same type of time as our launch event. I just want to say a big thank you, all of the chapter leads. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who has volunteered, for all the speakers, people that have volunteered to help out in any ways that they have. A big thank you to that. We are going through all the feedback, so if you have volunteered to speak and we haven't got back to you yet, we will do very shortly. And for anybody who maybe didn't fill out the survey, who wants to speak or has a topic of interest, please let us know. Please contact the chapter leads and we will get that organized. So, big thank you to everyone who has helped out. At the launch event, we heard from some representatives from Cyber Island. We heard from Alison Miller, who was our guest speaker at the time. She works in Optimum, and we had a panel discussion around some of the advantages and some of the challenges that we have here in the Northwest region. That was recorded, that launch event was recorded, and it's up on the Cyber Island's YouTube channel under the Northwest channel. This meeting today will also be recorded, so for anyone who is unable to attend, they can watch it back on the YouTube channel. Okay, so just some of the feedback we received. We asked the participants, what areas of security would you like to see on some of the remaining webinars that are going to take place in the new year. So the top 3 were around cloud computing, around the human element of security, so the awareness of security, privacy, risk management, and also about incident response handling. So how do you handle a data breach, the GDPR best practices. And there were some focus areas that came out of this feedback as well. So people would like to see a general awareness workshops from industry and academia. They want to see us to promote, our sector here, the Northwest Cyber Chapter, nationally as well as internationally. And they also want some regular meetups with members of our community here. So that's why we try to hold an event this month, and we're organising the events too coming up in the new year. The last focus area was around the promotion of careers to primary school and secondary level. So I suppose that was then the idea of why we're going to talk about careers in cyber for today. Okay, so that's the general overview of our last meeting, our launch event. And as I said, today we're going to talk about careers in cyber. So we're going to hear from three of our speakers who come from a wide range of backgrounds in relation to security. We have Virginia Lee, who works in Pramerica. We have Finbar Jackson, who works in AbbVie. And we have Stephanie Perry, who works in Advantio. So first of all, thank you to the speakers for attending. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the same questions to all three speakers, because it's just around your career to date, how you got into your field that you're in, and any advice that you would give anyone who wants to upskill or maybe just wants to get their foot in the door. So I might start with you, Virginia, if you don't mind. I know you from my days working in Pramerica. You were my reporting manager, so it's great to see you again. So the questions I'm going to ask is, can you give us an overview on who you are, what you do in Pramerica, how you got into cybersecurity, and if you have any advice to anyone who wants to move into that field?
Yep, certainly, and thank you for the introduction. And you're right, we've worked together for quite a few years at this stage. So listen, I'm a cybersecurity manager at Pramerica. I have responsibilities with what we call DevSecOps. But really what that means is we have a team that are looking after the security of applications, whether they're web or mobile, and the services that support all of that. We're testing them at runtime. So when they're live, we're looking at the code and making sure that they're secure at source. And they're sort of known as ethical hackers. They're trying a lot of the time to replicate what might be happening out in the wild, but are obviously doing it with permission, and they're testing systems to try and find any sort of flaws or vulnerabilities before anybody else does. Also have responsibilities around open source governance and security of open source usage within code. And there's so much change and evolution these days that we're looking at, how we secure our pipelines, how we automate that testing, how it moves from a sort of a point in time test where you come and request that we would do testing for you to having something that's running all the time, so that as developers are writing code, as they're deploying code, there's some level of checking happening all the time. So it's a really busy space. It's a fantastic area to be working in. And it's for us here in the Northwest, we have a global reach with this work that we do. We have customers in Japan and Indonesia, in India, in South America. We work with Brazil and Argentina, Mexico. The US are our big corporate sponsors. So we do a lot of work. So the team get a lot of exposure to different people and different ways of working. And it's been really interesting in my time that I've been in this role with Pramerica. It wasn't where I started out. It wasn't what I ever thought I was going to be doing. Way back in '99, when I graduated from university, I really didn't have that much of an idea of what it was that I wanted to do, or even thought that I wanted to do. I was very, very fortunate that at that time, the Northern Ireland Assembly had identified a gap with IT and with business skills for graduates. And they had invested in what they called a rapid advancement program at the time to upskill graduates in IT or business. I applied to the course, I got on it. It was a fantastic experience, went through, as part of that, did a 12-week placement where I really got a handle on what IT was maybe all about. But I also went through and did some professional certifications as part of that. So it really stood me up for being able to go out to industry and saying, hey, I'd like a job, and I maybe know a little bit, not a lot, but I have enough to let me get started. So I did, and I did what an awful lot of young people here in Ireland do, and I took off to Australia straight after I did that course, and I landed on my feet. I got my first development job. I was writing VB6 applications with SQL 6.5 databases, just to show you how old or how long ago that was. From the very beginning of my career, I have always been in a minority in terms of females in a team. There were 2 females in that office out of 20, but it was a great experience. It was a small company, so we had to do everything. If you wanted a server, one was ordered, you had to build it. So it was a great grounding for me in a lot of sort of IT areas. But then eventually, as sort of life goes on, and came back home again and ended up in Birmingham, where my husband was from. And I worked through a couple of different development roles at this time, still working mostly for smaller IT companies. And I'll have to say, in my experience, that was the best grounding, because you get exposure. You have to figure it out. You can't just off or pass things on to somebody else to do that. But all that development work led me into expensive software payroll systems and things. And I got an opportunity through that to work for a huge US healthcare company in the UK. And I had a wonderful job title as a payroll localization analyst, but I was still developing. I was still writing code, but I was working a lot more with payroll and HR personnel at that stage. And that took me on, I came on into a consulting role. And really that was the sort of the light bulb moment where it's like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I prefer being a tech than a consultant. And that led me then into Pramerica, where I came in as an automation engineer. Still, despite the title, I was still developing an awful lot and writing code. And one of my very, very first projects was to help out an associate who had had a security report come into him. And he wasn't sure what this meant or what he had to do with it. Now, I'll have to tell you, at this stage, I'd had 12 years IT experience behind me. I had never seen a security report. I had never had to consider security in anything that I had done, despite the industries I'd been working in. So you can imagine I got this security report and went, right, what does that mean? And I literally didn't know. But at the time, where I sat was right beside the security team that had done the testing. We sat and they went through it with me, and it was literally sat there and went, oh, I didn't know you could do that, or I wasn't aware that was something that you need to be cognizant of or careful with. And for the next sort of 18 months, I was working with that team on different projects and sort of applications that they were using in different bits and pieces. So I was getting a little bit of awareness into, or a whole lot of awareness into sort of security within code and things and the types of things that get tested. When the opportunity came up to join that team, which was about 6 years ago now at this stage, and I can remember sitting and thinking, I don't know cyber inside out. This is a hugely technical team that have all got degrees behind them in cyber, and I definitely didn't and don't or have any of those sort of training behind me. But I remember talking to the manager, and he was like, you'll be okay. It's more of a sort of a coordination role. You're not going to need to be that technical. And I tease him about that, because I remember on my very first day going onto a call with customers in the US and realizing they expected me to be technical. They expected me to be able to understand exactly what it was that was going on. So I had a huge learning curve to go up, and had to go up it pretty quickly. I did things like Security Plus. I did certified ethical hacking. I did my CISM certification, just anything I could to build up knowledge across the board, because it was expected that whoever it was that I was talking to, that I would have the answers. And I don't, I have a team of experts working for me. There are things that they do that I wouldn't even pretend to be able to do, but what I've had to do is learn the theory of it all, and certainly the fundamentals of what it is that they're doing. And I'm able to do what I do because I have a fabulous team of people around me that are providing answers where I don't have them, or where we haven't figured something out before. But what I will say, from what I've seen over the last 6 years in my career, there is something for everybody in this space. It doesn't matter where your interests lie, what it is you think to be doing, from the very, very technical, right down in bite level information, to leadership, to project management, to things like marketing and governance. There's hundreds of different roles within cyber. It's a huge, huge, huge field. You'll never be bored in terms of opportunities to go and learn something new. So it is, if it isn't something that you've thought about as a career, or if you think it's maybe not for you, please just come and talk to us in industry. Most people in my experience are very happy to share their experiences with you, and the stories from the trenches, so to speak. And in terms of sort of general advice to anybody is don't ever look at a job rec or something and think I don't have all of that. None of us in industry have all of everything that's on a job rec. Be open to learning, be open to building relationships with people, because you never know where those opportunities are going to come from. If you're fortunate that you're in a company that has a cyber unit of some description, go and talk to them. Ask them if you can, is there a side of the desk project you can get involved in? Can you come and shadow somebody? You just don't know where those conversations might lead or where those opportunities might come from. As an industry, there aren't enough of us. There are loads of openings, and really those relationships that you build with people are really, really important over and above whatever you have academically or professionally behind you. We've seen a lot of people come to us with cybersecurity degrees from, I know LYIT and Sligo IT are on the call today. They've come from those courses. We know the value of those. But the flip side of that is I have people who have joined my team who have nothing from a cyber background there from an academic point of view or even from a professional point of view. And they've done really, really, really well. We have people that we employed because of their language skills who have turned out to be fantastic analysts and engineers within our space. And as I say, there really is opportunities, no matter what your background is, to get ahead. There clearly are academic, pathways that you can come in that are fantastic. We know the value of those, but don't think that you can't make a career change or that you absolutely have to have something to make this happen. There's loads of endless online training options that are available to people these days. There's loads of options out there from the big IT sort of groups around training materials or reading materials that you can go and have a look at. And just remember, if you get invited to an interview, somebody's seen something on your CV that makes them think there is a potential here with this person. Certainly from my own experience, we never interview somebody just for the sake of it. You've put something in there that we've thought, we can work with that, or we can certainly see how this will go. There is our industry no more than any other. There is always going to be upskilling if you're coming in without the skills, and that's something that all the big IT companies invest very heavily in, is making sure that new people coming in have the skills to succeed, and those people who are changing careers also have all the tools to make that a success for them. The one thing I will say, in my experience, cyber is underrepresented in terms of females. In terms of diversity in general, it's not so fantastically represented. So if you think it's maybe not for you, or that you don't see yourself reflected in this industry, please take a chance and do that. We have, we have a lot of work going on in terms of how we, across the industry, in terms of how we address all of that. But from my experience as a female in this space, it's never been a disadvantage, and the doors have never been open in terms of what can be achieved, or what it's really in your own hands, your destiny in terms of where you go. But as I say, the biggest bit of advice would be just talk to people in industry, reach out to people. If you get the opportunity for an internship or an apprenticeship, take it, because that's a fantastic way to get in there and get a little bit of a taste about what it's going to entail in terms of whatever role you come in for. From my own experience, most interns that have come into us have become permanent employees. It's a great pathway into organizations, but it's not, once you're through the door, it's not the end of the journey. As I say, the career options are broad, and there's no end to where you might go. And I've seen people swap and change, and maybe working in identity access management or networking and different areas of cyber, and they're moving around all the time because all those skills cross over and are important. So listen, that's my sort of overview of my career, and as I say, if there's any questions or you want to know more, please do ask.
Excellent, Virginia. Yeah, you covered some great points there. And for anyone that is on the call that wants to ask Virginia or any of our speakers any questions, please pop them into the chat. But that was excellent. As I said, you've covered some great points. I completely agree with the whole take a risk, take a chance. If an opportunity comes at your door, take it, because you don't know what that's going to lead on to. So yeah, that's great advice. Okay, so we might move on to Finbar, if you don't mind. Same questions, Finbar. Give us an overview on who you are, what you do in AbbVie, how you got into cybersecurity, and any advice you may have for anyone.
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Excellent, okay. Okay, Finbar Jackson. My title is Manufacturing System Cybersecurity Specialist with AbbVie Pharmaceuticals. So I work with all of the AbbVie manufacturing sites across the world, and I support their manufacturing systems and the secure operation and maintenance of those systems. My background is industrial automation, and I'll explain what that is in a moment. But a year ago, I had the opportunity to transition into a cybersecurity role. I'm also ISA 62443 and GICSP certified. So they're also specialist certifications for industrial cybersecurity. So I'll explain what that is in a second. I've been in the industry for a long time. I can't believe it's almost 30 years, but it is. I started out studying electronics in Sligo IT, so I have a big affinity for Sligo IT. And I've been lucky enough to be able to work for multinationals for all of my career. So initially that was in the area of maintenance, that evolved into automation, I guess, before even automation was a thing. And then for the last 20 years, I've been able to specialize in industrial automation. So industrial automation might not mean a lot to everybody. So industrial automation relates to process control, and it's control of physical processes in manufacturing sites, essentially. So some examples of this are your traditional manufacturing areas, discrete component manufacturing, machine control, oil refineries, power generation, chemical processing. And in the job of industrial automation is to prioritize process safety. So you're automating a process, but you're also ensuring that that process is safe and has fail safes and so on. Because these systems are designed to run 24/7, and very often they run continuously 24/7 for 5, 10, 20 years. So as a process automation engineer, I've a lot of experience across a number of different sectors. Industrial cybersecurity relates to process automation. And the idea that those systems have to run 24/7 and without interruption, that also goes for interruption from cyber attacks. So the idea that a virus or a worm or something can impact on those process control systems is a big concern. My journey into cybersecurity started a couple of years ago. So given that I'm, please God, I have 20 years left, I had this continuous itch where I felt I was proficient in the area, my background area, which is automation. But I wasn't satisfied to leave it at that, and I wasn't satisfied to stay in that comfort zone for the remainder of my career. So I had this constant reoccurring itch where I wanted to sort of expand into something new. I can give you the date and almost the time that cybersecurity came into my head, and it was 26th of June 2017. And anybody in cybersecurity might recognize that date, because that's the day that WannaCry hit the world. And if you recall, it hit a lot of manufacturers. So I think there was Maersk shipping got hit by it, and a company in our own sector, which was Merck, got hit by it. And then I think the UK health sector got hit by it as well. So WannaCry was a real wake-up call to the industry. And to me as well, because the stories I was hearing about systems that were impacted were the same systems that I was working with and supporting in my role as an industrial automation engineer. So in the autumn of 2017, I decided to take a step forward into cybersecurity. So I undertook a master's in applied cybersecurity through Blanchardstown IT, which is now part of the Technical University of Dublin. And that master's was a real foundation for me, because it allowed me to study and get to know the aspects of cybersecurity in the traditional sense, in traditional IT cybersecurity. So network security and communication and encryption, digital forensics, business continuity, and so on and so on. So that gave me a foundation, and that was a 2-year master's. After that, I wanted to specialize in industrial cybersecurity, because I wanted to be able to transition into a role that leveraged my background. So I started to look at opportunities for certification in industrial cybersecurity. In 2019, I started the ISA 62443 training program. And that training program is a 4-module program run by the ISA, and the ISA are the International Society for Automation. And 62443 is a standard in itself. So it's a set of documents that define how industrial control systems should be designed, architected, implemented, and maintained in a secure way. So the 4 modules cover the fundamentals of cybersecurity, risk assessment and remediation, secure system design, and then the operation and maintenance. So the 62443 again is a great foundation in industrial cybersecurity, because it gives you all of the understanding of how to implement and maintain those systems. And a lot of companies are now adopting 62443 as a standard. Additionally, in this year, as trying to build up my my portfolio, I also undertook SANS GICSP training, and the GICSP is more of a conversion course. So within manufacturing and in industry, we're finding that we have 2 sides of the business who traditionally wouldn't have a lot of engagement. So, for example, the industrial automation side tends to be engineering. And so traditionally, I would have worked for engineering departments over most of my career. And the cybersecurity element is on the other side of the fence. It's the IT and traditional IT. But when you come to implement cybersecurity on industrial control systems, it's a different approach. And the reason it's different is because those manufacturing systems are intended to run 24/7. And they're also, they have a very long life cycle. So as I said, 10 to 20 years in some cases. So when you implement security in those systems, you need to do it in such a way that you don't impact on the performance of the system or the safety of the process that relates to that system. So GICSP was intended to bring the IT and the automation groups together and get everybody onto the same level in terms of understanding the realities of industrial control systems, and making sure that everybody was speaking the same language. And so GICSP I took this year. Again, great conversion course, and it just brings those 2 sides of the coins together. So in terms of advice, I suspect a lot of people are probably in the same position as I was a couple of years ago, where looking to get into a new area, perhaps proficient already in one side, and that could be on the IT side or on the automation side, for example. But looking to expand into a new area, and manufacturing system cybersecurity is really topical at the moment. There's a huge need for skill set in the area. So the industry is crying out for engineers with industrial cybersecurity background, and so there's a definite skills gap. The advice I give, I guess, firstly, I suppose taking at it from a no-cost perspective, there is a huge amount of information available out there now, be it podcasts or blogs, so it's very easy to immerse yourself completely in cybersecurity if that's where your ambition is. And so my advice would be to sort of eat, drink, and sleep it. So absorb as much of that content that's out there and readily available. The academic qualification route was what I chose. There's a debate whether academic or professional certification stands you better. My perspective would be, I think within Ireland especially, the academic qualification route is very cost effective. By comparison with the US or other countries, it's relatively cost effective to get into a degree or a master's program, probably in the order of a couple of €1,000 per year. And it's tax deductible as well. So if you're paying for it yourself, there's a reduced cost. But I recommend getting into the academic side, taking on an academic qualification, particularly if you're in my situation where it had been a number of years since you had last studied. Great refresher, great opportunity to get up to speed with current thinking and current expertise or refresher expertise in an area. So I recommend the academic side. I was the other side, which is a professional certification, can be quite expensive. I was lucky because my employer was prepared to invest in me, and I was able to do both the 62443 and the GICSP certifications. And then ultimately, that all came together approximately 12 months ago when the company had an opening for an industrial cybersecurity specialist. I interviewed for it. I was lucky to get it. Very grateful to get it, of course. It's a huge opportunity for me. So I'm now a full-time cybersecurity specialist. So that's me.
That's great, Finbar. Thank you so much. And it's great to hear from the manufacturing side of it and how cybersecurity is implemented at that point. So thank you. Lastly, but not least, we have Stephanie Perry from Advantio. So I'll just ask you the same question, Stephanie, if that's okay. Give us an overview on who you are, what you do in your profession, how you got into your profession, and if you have any advice to give anybody.
Sure. Hello, everyone, and thanks for inviting me. So my name's Stephanie Perry, and I am Head of Professional Services for Advantio. So Advantio are a cybersecurity consultancy. We specialise in payment industry service protection, and we specialise in providing governance, risk and compliance advice, as well as managed service advice to the payment card industry and the financial services industry, as well as other kind of industries as well. But our core is around payment cards, payment industry and financial services. So I'm Head of Professional Services, and compared to the other two speakers you've had today, I am definitely the least technical member of this panel. So professional services means any of the consultancy work, essentially. So anything that we do which is interacting with our clients, so anything which is involving delivering any of our core products or core services. So I look after a team of 30+ individuals who are qualified security assessors, information security consultants. I also have a team of technical security consultants as well, so penetration testers, ethical hackers, code reviewers, and all of that kind of great stuff. My team is split geographically. We're headquartered in Ireland, but we're split across all of Europe. So we have a vast degree of language skills and a load of technical skills. Like Virginia, my team are much more technical than I am, which is wonderful. They are, real specialists in what they do. They're really excellent and real industry leaders and thought leaders as well in being able to kind of provide advice to our customers. So Unlike, I guess, the rest of the guys, I didn't come into cybersecurity or information security at all from a technical background. I've got an undergraduate history degree, and I've got a postgrad in law. I started off after university working for a large telecoms company. That company was looking to gain ISO certification, and it was in the operations team, which is the team that I was working in. There was a gap within that kind of project to be able to provide risk management advice, and somebody who needed to be kind of a risk coordinator to help manage all the activity across the departments. And I put my hand up for it and got involved kind of on the ground, I guess, learning about what information security certification was and how it applies to an industry whilst I was doing it. For me, that's probably like a really good route into learning and understanding about information security. I must admit, I find occasionally the professional qualifications quite difficult if I don't have a practical real world scenario to apply them to. So being able to kind of be involved in a real life project and learn kind of professional qualifications at the same time really helped me to be able to kind of contextualize what I was doing. I spent a number of years working in kind of this really large telecoms company, which gave me really great access to a load of technical experts, and I was able to ask a lot of questions. I was able to have a lot of support. I then left that organization wanting to kind of expand my career in cybersecurity and learn more, and ended up working for Visa Europe. So Visa, obviously, as you guys know, are a huge sort of payment systems provider, and I started working for those guys as a compliance specialist. So compliance is I guess the less sexy end of cybersecurity, but a lot of it was making sure that the processes and procedures were in place, managing our internal audits, getting involved in the incident management of the organization, getting involved in the kind of certification process. But I did that within the cybersecurity department, and that gave me a great deal of exposure to the kind of security operations centers and the technical tool sets that organizations use to kind of protect their networks and protect their systems. I spent a couple of years doing that. And like a lot of people, I think, who start their careers in the corporate world within organizations, I then wanted to kind of expand into the consultancy world. So I took a role as an information security consultant, and I guess that's kind of what put me on the journey that I'm on now, which kind of has led me to this role in Advantio. Within that kind of consultancy experience, it gave me a huge amount of exposure to different clients, different environments, various different challenges. Anyone who works, with a broad client base knows it doesn't matter if you're selling the same product. Every single client is going to want to implement it even slightly differently. They all bring with them their own challenges. They all bring with them their own personalities as well. So being able to kind of work in that cybersecurity consultancy environment with all of these different clients really gave me a really good grounding for the role that I do now. So helping to support all of the consultants to deliver our products and services to our client base. In terms of advice, I think I would probably echo what Virginia was saying, which is not to be afraid of moving into a profession if you don't feel like you have necessarily have the technical grounding to move into cybersecurity. It is a really, really broad field. Like Virginia was saying, there's loads and loads of jobs available within the field, and it's also a really welcoming field. I also have worked predominantly in not particularly diverse teams and predominantly in kind of in male environments. But I can honestly say, hand on heart, that hasn't really ever been a blocker or a barrier to me. And it hasn't really been something where I've felt like an outsider. I felt really included within the environment. Everyone's been incredibly generous with their time and their knowledge and their skills. One thing I love about working with technical guys is they are quite happy to explain what they do in great detail, and they will continue to explain it in a way which you understand. I think for me, the advice that I would give is, alongside the kind of academic routes that you can take and the professional qualifications routes that you can take, is to really work on the soft skills. One of the things that I really value from consultants, and I know that businesses really value as well, is the ability to be able to explain or contextualize cybersecurity for an audience which doesn't necessarily understand it. So if you're able to sit in a management meeting or a team meeting or a board meeting, and to be able to understand or to be able to explain the cyber risk to an organization, to be able to understand, to explain a product to an organization or how it fits, or to be able to explain a program of works or the development of a technical project. Those skills are really valued, and something that I think is probably a little bit lacking in the sector as well, especially from an outsider's perspective. People often perceive cybersecurity as being deeply technical, which it is in certain areas, absolutely, or very difficult to understand. I think being able to kind of normalize cybersecurity for audiences and for businesses, and being able to develop those skills yourself will put you in a really good stead for a career in cybersecurity.
Excellent advice there, Stephanie, especially the soft skills. Like, that does go hand in hand with the technical. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So I suppose we have now about 15 or so minutes, a little bit over. We're going to go to our panelists at this point. And as I said, please feel free to post any questions up. We'll try and get to as many as we can, but I suppose with time being as it is, we may not be able to answer them all. And if we can't, we will answer them at a later stage. But we'll go on to the panelists now, and we'll talk to Diane O'Brien is first up. She's the head of the Department of Computing and Electronic Engineering in IT Sligo. We also have Declan Foley here, who's the CyberSecurity Apprenticeship Instructor for the Mayo Sligo Leitrim Education and Training Board. And we've John McGarvey, who is a lecturer in Letterkenny Institute of Technology. So hi, everyone. And I'll start with you, Diane, if you don't mind. So, we're based in the Northwest here. How can we go about promoting, I suppose, careers or education in our region?
Okay, thanks, Veronica. I suppose, there's really, three pillars to that aspect, or to that question. The first is, obviously, we need to have the jobs and the talent and the education. So they're the three aspects that I'll talk about. So in terms of attracting companies into the region, we've had a fantastic track record in the last couple of years in attracting software companies and tech companies into the region, like Overstock, Lifetiles, Omni3, and now Advantio as well, which is our first move into the cyber area. But I suppose the security and everything. So in all aspects of development, security is embedded in there. So that's the first thing, to ensure that we have a good region or number of companies, Pramerica, Optum, all the different companies that we have within our region. The next is then that the talent pool is there. Okay, so the talent pool really is our graduates from our programs, and because we are joining together with LYIT and GMIT, under the Technological University, that really opens up the talent pool significantly across three institutes. And I think then, it's encouraging people to come back to the Northwest as well, to come into the region, to work in these companies, and the lifestyle that can have. And I'm part of the tech cluster as well, the Northwest Tech Cluster, and we really promote that. That's really an aspect that we look at. But I suppose ultimately then it comes back to the education and what we have to offer. And obviously within the college ourselves, we have degrees in software development, degrees in network and cloud infrastructure. And while none of them specifically say, it's a degree in cybersecurity, there's no doubt there that we have a huge amount of security built in. And as the panelists have said, You know, security is from even the softer side of the skills, to be able to recognize and speak to people, right through to, you know, it's defense in depth. It's from the hardware to the software, and we would have penetration testing, we have cybersecurity modules, we have Cisco security modules, virtualization and hybrid cloud modules in there with security embedded in them, and then secure software development. So there's a number of different modules and programs in there that have a huge amount of security, because obviously it's that we don't want them to be isolated, that it's not a software developer and a security analyst somewhere else, that it's one and the same. So we have a number of different degrees there, level 7 and level 8, where students can come in. We also have a level 8 online program over 2 years for anyone who is, you know, has a level 7 in computing but would like to get into maybe more area of security, where there's a lot of security modules in there. And for any people, because it really struck me with the panelists is a lot of them have not come directly from a software development background. So they have found their way into software development. So we have a conversion program in there as well, in a higher diploma in computing, which is Springboard funded, ran over 2 years. So again, a great opportunity there for somebody who has a different skill set, but who would like to get into this particular area. So it's a conversion program, and as I said, Springboard funded. And then I suppose it's all that working together in partnership. It really is about the education sector, academia and industry working together. We want to ensure that no matter what we do or how we go about it, that we produce graduates that are industry ready. They can hit the ground running. They can go out there. They can go into a job, and I'm sure lots of you know, for both ourselves and LYIT, all the companies on the call here today will testament to that is exactly what we do produce, and that's because we liaise and we work very closely with industry, and we ensure that all our programs are up to date, that they're always have the skill set that's required, and then, you know, as we move to a technological university, we're moving more into you know, adding to our, I suppose, another string to our bow in terms of research and level 9s and level 10s. And again, you know, we have received funding recently to work together with our partners in GMIT and LYIT around a computing partnership for research, and also we have got some funding there to work with UCD around research, and to build out programs that industry require, and to take the skill sets that industry really want and maybe build them into special purpose awards. So I suppose there's lots of opportunities there from people who are, you know, starting out in their career and would like to think about, is computing for me? Right through to somebody who has a completely different skill set and would like to get into the cyber area. You know, we have it all. And I think, you know, for ourselves, it's also about getting out in there into primary schools and secondary schools and really, really promoting careers in computing and in cybersecurity to the kids, and to ensure as well, you know, I would be also of the same mindset, and I've heard it here a couple of times today already, that, you know, we need to have more gender balance within the classes and within the industry, and that's really, you know, what I would really that's my avenue in terms of going into primary schools and first years, because that's where we tend to lose the girls in tech. We lose them around 6th class, first year, second year. So, you know, it's all those aspects. And I think that's how we work. And it's only when we put, I suppose, partnerships that we really have success with industry. When academia and industry work together, that's where the successes come.
Thank you, Diane. Completely agree with the gender balance. We need more females in the industry. Okay, Declan, you have an interesting role being the cybersecurity apprenticeship instructor. So I wonder, could you give us a little bit of background into that and you know, where your graduates end up?
Yeah, thanks, Veronica. Thank you for that. My name is Declan Foley. I am based in Ballina, County Mayo, and Ballina Training Centre, which is part of the MSLETB training board. And MSLETB, for anybody that don't know, just basically stands for Mayo, Sligo, Leitrim Education Training Board. And the Ballina Training Centre has been selected as a training centre to start the new tech apprenticeships in terms of cybersecurity. We already have one of the new tech apprenticeships running in Sligo in software development, and I think we're on to the 2nd year on that. So my job is to get this new tech apprenticeship up and running in Ballina, and it's something that we're really excited about and really determined to get going and make make a success of it. And our sort of plan to get that up and running and get traction on it and get a cohort of people to get into that apprenticeship is we kind of split it into two sort of programs, and we've decided to run with a traineeship at the start of new year in cybersecurity. So it's something that's other providers have started, but we're excited to start this in Ballina as well. And the traineeship is like a pre-tech apprenticeship, just to get a flavour of what it means to be an apprenticeship, what it means to go through the apprenticeship programme. And we've got set up a 30-week programme which includes an 8-week work experience. And I think some of your speakers beforehand talk a lot about getting workplaces and dipping your toe into it and having the courage to go and take that first step. So I see my role in MSLBTV's role as providing that first step, providing that open door and giving you the confidence to take that step. Because a lot of it is actually people may have an idea that they'd like to go into cybersecurity, but they hear all those technical terms and all those fancy words and say, oh, I'm not able for that. So my job, and I've done a master's in leadership, so and it was very interesting to hear some of the speakers talk about building relationships and communication skills, the soft skills. And our aim in the cybersecurity traineeship is not just to develop their technical skills, it's really to develop them as people. And with the 8 weeks work experience, we're going to place them with organizations so they get their skills and they can build their work experience skills. But it also works for the organizations as well, is that they get to see the people. They get to see, will they fit in? Can I take a chance on this person, put them through an apprenticeship? So it gives everybody a chance, a 30-week program where they learn the basic skills. It's City and Guilds accredited, the maintaining IC equipment, network principles of IC and data security. So it gives them a ground and the basic skills they need to then start trying to understand all those technical jargons that they want to see. So after the traineeship, as I say, we're hoping to build a cohort of students that we can then bring through onto what we think is a very exciting apprenticeship in terms of cybersecurity. And like the traditional apprenticeships in electrical and plumbing and joinery, this is a 2-year program with on-the-job and off-the-job training. Not only do they gain a level 6 certificate in cybersecurity at the end of this, not only do they gain the work experience with organizations, but key to this, they also gain industry certification. So as a cybersecurity apprentice, you will go through the CompTIA IT Fundamentals, CompTIA Network Plus, CompTIA Security Plus, CompTIA Cybersecurity Analysis, and CompTIA Penetration Tester. So you can see that is quite a mouthful, and I'm glad I got through it. So after the 2 years, a learner who's completed that apprenticeship will really have a solid foundation to progress. And they may not at the start have the courage to go into an IT or a level 7, level 8, but after that apprenticeship, not only have they been paid, have the work experience, have the industry certification, they now will have the confidence to say, right, I love this, this is for me, I now can specialize into something else. So I think it's a great foundation, and as I said, we're really determined and excited to get this up and running in Ballina, and we're delighted that Ballina was picked for this apprenticeship. So, and as I said, I like to combine what I say are the people skills with the technical skills. You can't have one without the other. You might be the best technical person in the world, but if you don't have the soft skills, communication, the relation building, all that sort of stuff, it's difficult to progress. And I always see that as a second plank in stuff that we do here in MSLETB. So that's kind of a brief run in what we hope to do here in Ballina.
Fantastic, Declan.
Thanks,
and
Veronica.
You are covering all aspects at that point, so well done.
Thank you.
John, you're last up now. You're a lecturer in LYIT and you teach some of these cybersecurity modules as well. Do you see any topics in particular that maybe undergraduates maybe particularly enjoy, or is there anything that they maybe don't enjoy as much?
Well, they enjoy. Thank you very much, Veronica. I'll just talk a little bit about the cybersecurity postgrad courses as well, because it's just something that would be very useful to them. Regards to modules, they always like the ethical hacking modules more than maybe a little bit more than the risk assessment modules, but then there are newer modules such as web application security and cybersecurity doesn't stay the same. We've been offering courses since 2008, and quite a lot of the modules have changed completely since then, and some have been written out and others new ones written in. So from year 1 to year 4 in the undergraduate in cybersecurity, you know, they run through maybe 4 to 5 specific cybersecurity modules, a lot of which I teach and so on. On the Masters in Cybersecurity, there's 4 different flavors of that course. There's the Masters in Cybersecurity in Information Systems Management, which is a 30-credit dissertation with 4 modules. There's the Masters in Cybersecurity and Software Compliance, which is again very similar, 30-credit dissertation with 4 modules, some electives within that. And then the last one then is Cybersecurity with Threat Management, and again a 30-credit dissertation. Some of the modules on those courses are Software Compliance, Threat Management 1, Information Security Management 1 and 2, and Threat Management 2. And there's also specific adherence to web application security and standards. The last one then that we have in cybersecurity is just a research master's, which is a 60-credit dissertation with, I think, 4 modules as well, okay, with worth less credits and so on. So we do also have the postgrad in cybersecurity, and they are offered as springboard. So I'll put up a link to the Masters in Cybersecurity, maybe on the chat if anyone wants the link, whereas the postgrad diplomas will be all through the springboard when they're on offer. So yeah. If you have any questions now, we can answer them, because I know it's 11:58. I don't want to talk too much.
3 minutes left, hey?
Yeah.
No, thank you so much to all the speakers and all the panelists. It was really, really informative. And to be honest, I think you've probably covered a lot of the answers to any questions that were coming through anyway. So thank you so much. There has been 1 or 2, and this one is actually directed towards Finbar. So I'm not sure, Finbar, if you'd like to take this, but it was just around the whole interfaces with traditional IT systems like SAP, ERP systems, and maybe some impact of infrastructure and hardware. So I don't know if that's something you...
Yeah, it goes deeper into the topic, but in short, what industrial cybersecurity is about is defense in depth. So we architect our systems so that we have our most critical systems are deep within our network. So we have a number of layered networks. And in recent years, the need for those systems to connect back out to your enterprise systems for various operational reasons has I suppose, opened up the field and resulted in a necessity to do that security. So it's a balancing act between connectivity and security, but we have architecture so that we can do that securely. The likes of the 62443, for example, would advocate what's called a Purdue model, which is a standardized architecture model for manufacturing systems, which gives you those defense in depth measures.
That's perfect, Finbar. And I think too, at the last meetup, there was discussions around the whole manufacturing of cybersecurity. So it could be something that we look into. I think Paul mentioned that the last time that it could be something we look into, maybe to give a talk on the following or in the new year at this point.
Sure.
There was one other question, but I think Virginia has answered it in a written format, but it was just around the whole, being an IT graduate, you've no cyber experience, what can you do to break through? Some of these internships will require some technical experience. So I think Virginia's already responded. I don't know, do you want to just come in there, Virginia, maybe and give a couple of pointers?
Yeah, I really go back to what I was saying earlier. Don't be put off by what any internship is looking for in terms of what it lists as the experience or the skills. It's your interest more than anything that's important. But if there's an area you want to get into, go and have a look, go and do some background reading on that. There's loads of fabulous online resources where you can get information and get a little bit of insight into that field. When you're applying, make sure you call that out, that you've done research into whatever it is. I gave examples with application security, things like OWASP or SANS are great sources of information. But just get involved in communities like this, turn up to forums, because it's where you'll learn about opportunities or you'll make introductions to different people. And it's just taking those chances when they come, because if you don't apply, the answer is definitely going to be no. And if you apply, somebody might just see something in your CV that makes them think, this person has something that we can work with, or there's an opportunity here.
Perfect, Virginia. Does anyone else want to jump in, or are we happy enough to wrap it up? Does anyone else from the speakers or the panelists have anything, any final thoughts?
I just had one question there that I asked Finbar, and he already kind of addressed some of it, and it was relating to kind of a gap in traditional cybersecurity to deal with ICS security, or industrial control systems. And he was just mentioning, yes, that there's definitely a need there for modules, or at least part of a module to, to deal with that. He mentioned the 24/7, that, they're not traditional cybersecurity is not the same as manufacturing processing security. So Finbar, if you wanted to come in on that, just to the question.
Sure, yeah. And I know that there was some changes happening on the academic side. I know, for example, I think Carlo IT are running a cybersecurity masters, I believe, and I think they have included some industrial cybersecurity content. I guess my point, John, when I replied, was that ultimately the mission statements of our manufacturing industry is to manufacture product. And yes. I think if we're not securing our manufacturing control systems, then the mission will fail. So even if you've protected your enterprise systems and you're still exposed at the manufacturing level, then you may have business systems available to you, but you won't have manufacturing systems available to you in the event of like a ransomware attack. So I really do think we need to at least raise the visibility of the importance of that, so that as students come through the academic side, they can then go forward with a knowledge that we need to be cognizant of the importance of protecting both sides of the business.
Because I think in academia we tend to focus too much on CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and really it's the availability would be the main one within ICS, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But I think even a fundamental knowledge of that difference and the importance of not simply taking IT solutions and applying them to ICS systems, because that doesn't work. And I think that embedding that knowledge into people at the outset of their career would be very important.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Finbar.
Okay, guys. Any last thoughts, or are we happy to wrap it up? We're good to wrap it up. Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Look, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's attended and who has spoken, the speakers, the panelists. A big, massive thank you. Only for you guys to volunteer in your time, we wouldn't be able to run these type of events. So thank you so much. I think it was very informative. We covered, I think, every type of area in relation to careers in cyber. So thank you so much. I think we'll be leaving it there now till the new year. We're gathering still information. We'll be running a few more webinars in the new year. We have a few plans up our sleeves